Welcome to GSC 3600, and this is our online course syllabus review. At the top of the syllabus, you'll see my contact information. You can email me, mobile phone me, and you can text me if you like at that mobile number. Our weeks are Monday through Sunday, and you'll see that in this syllabus consistently, and you'll see it as we communicate on Blackboard in the due dates of assignments, postings, etc. that we work on that Monday to Sunday week. Gives you the weekend to finish things up if you need to. Okay, so this is an introduction to operations and supply chain management, and it's a required course in Wayne State University's undergraduate business school curriculum. So I realize that we have supply chain majors, future supply chain majors, and also other majors in the course. For that reason, I try to build the course material around the fact that we are not all going into supply chain and operations as a profession, but rather that we need to have an understanding of what those concepts and tools are. And I try to, when I can, make the lessons apply to other areas of the business as well. So for example, when we talk about project management, that cuts across all organizational boundaries, right? Around the world and across sectors and organizations, public and private. It's project management. When we talk about product development, that's not really concentric just around on product and operations, for example. Some of the other course material, like problem solving and how the teams work together and so forth, you can try to apply that as a general business person. And understanding how operations work is of value to nearly anybody with a business degree. So in light of that, I try to cater the course to in a general sense. And those that are going into supply chain and operations, you can go deeper into these subjects in other courses. Okay, operations is basically the conversion of raw materials, labor, capital, and information to something that customers will pay for and desire, services or products, right? So it can be a ride at Disneyland that's being designed first and then managed. It can be an ice cream cone. It can be a hotel room. It can be a legal service. And more commonly, we think of operations as things we manufacture. So a lot of the course is built around that manufacturing and operations centric side of operations. But you'll see as you look through the text and as we go through things that excellent processes are excellent processes, and they're the hallmark of great organizations regardless of whether they're in manufacturing or not. So we'll have a manufacturing spin to the class for the most part, but the services side is also very much represented. Okay, so let's see here. We have a Blackboard site, and in there you can find information about me briefly. I don't want to bore you to death with my history, but I tell you something about me. You can have the copy of the syllabus. If there's any changes, major changes, I'll update the syllabus. I think it's in its final form, but one never knows. If into the course we make a tweak, you'll know about it. If little things like a date changes, I will not republish a syllabus. If I say, hey everybody, I'm giving you 3 extra days on blah 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 because of the weather or because of something, then I'm not going to publish a syllabus over that. That'll just be in the announcements or something. But any major changes, we'll reissue a syllabus. The announcements, I do a weekly announcement, and starting with week 0 or week 1, I'll start communicating with you, and I try to do that once a week. I don't want to bury you, so I try hard not to send out a second announcement during a week. Once in a while I will, because I think there's something I need to say to everybody, and I don't want to do it through email. I want it to reside in the site where people can find it again if they need it, and I'll send you a second announcement if needed. But at least you know my goal is by Sunday night, before I crash Sunday night, I want to send you an announcement about the upcoming week to help you stay structured. There's a link to Pearson's MyOM lab in Blackboard, and this is very important. Students always have some trouble, and I just can't, for some reason, can't solve it. It's frustrating, actually. Some number of students always have trouble, probably 25% of you, with getting set up with the lab. Just go into Blackboard and click into the Pearson area, and you can't get very far into that without buying your access code, and it automatically registers you to the course. So if you bought your code outside of the course, if you went into the bookstore or bought it elsewhere, then register still through the course. Do not go to Pearson's website and register. You'll know you're in the wrong place when they ask you for a course access code or a course code that your instructor should have given you. You're in the wrong place. Don't register there. Go into Blackboard, enter through Pearson, buy your code there if you need it. If you already have it, enter your code there. The lowest cost option that I have found is to buy the electronic, they call it the value edition of the text, and your access code right in Pearson, and you can do it right through Blackboard, through the Pearson link. You can use PayPal or Visa and purchase for either $119 or $120. You can buy the electronic version of the text, which is just PDF, and your access code. That's the lowest cost option I've seen. Now, you might find a creative way to do something less expensive. You could find a used copy of the book for peanuts somewhere online, I'm sure. And you could find the access code through Pearson or through a bookstore. I would not recommend, and I've had it happen, Pearson warned me about it, and then students told me that it happened to them. I would not recommend buying the access code through eBay or Amazon or other sellers, because many times those are counterfeit or bogus or already used access codes, and then you're stuck, right? Then you got to go back and pay for it anyway. So bargain shopping for access codes, I do not recommend. If you decide to engage in it, I wish you the very best of luck. Okay, the dogs are barking. Love it. The assignments are the learning modules. No, discussion board. Okay, so the discussion board, we have a weekly discussion. I'll post an article. The first discussion is just getting to know each other, building our online community. Please do that as soon as you can, and let's get to know each other a bit. And then from then on, I'll post some information. Once I think it's a video, but usually it's some article to read, and I think in week 1 it's 2 articles. Just read those over, and then please, in the discussion boards and in really any of your online communication in this class or elsewhere, be careful of how you phrase things and how you post. Proofread, get the spell check right, check your sentences. And it was recommended to me long ago to do all your writing offline. Get it into Microsoft Word and do your editing, and then go online. It prevents those accidental posts of something that you didn't clean up, or you had a half sentence you left in because you forgot to delete it, whatever it might be. So be careful of your online communication. Somebody told me that a long time ago, and I didn't listen to them, and I took some online courses, and I learned over time it is a good policy. And the people that recommended that to me were wiser than I. So I would encourage you to experiment with that. Just keep a Word document open on your desktop. It's not a lot of work. Answer the question there, read it over carefully, and then post your response. And not only is it the quality of your response and your writing that improves that way through a little bit of editing, instead of treating it as just almost like a text message, but treating it as a more serious and consequential piece of work you're submitting, but it also allows you to avoid one of the pitfalls of electronic communication that I'm sure many, or maybe even all of you have already fallen into, which is accidentally posting something that ends up being offensive online. So in this, the last 20 years, we have learned how difficult it is to have effective written communication. When the phone calls started to die out and the text message and the emails took over, most of us have had a chance where we've offended people accidentally, maybe responded when we had a lot of emotion in us to a topic, or maybe just, unfortunately, the way people read what we write, we can't hear their voice, we can't see their face, and I know most or all of you are aware of this, but please, in this course, practice constructively disagreeing with each other. I want you to voice your disagreements, and we have to be able to voice our disagreements. But I want you to practice doing it in a way that is not offensive. And the best grades you're going to get from me are when you can voice disagreement, counterpoints to a position, new thoughts to something somebody has stated, without saying disrespect and disparaging remarks about how they feel. You will receive the absolute highest marks from me for that. Writing your work and responses offline helps you to also not only improve quality, but to avoid the pitfalls of accidentally lighting a fire or throwing a stick of dynamite into something that you probably didn't want to do. Okay, so that's the discussion board. Learning modules, I'll post things in there. You're going to need to look at those learning modules every week. I'll try to keep them structured and organized. Can be a little bit of cat herding sometimes, but I'll do my best to make it a useful, structured area for you. Under I'm going to have to go kill a dog. Excuse me. Hey. Quiet. Quiet. Good, Debbie. Okay. So, make sure you get into those learning modules every week. Useful information there. Look over all the assignments at your earliest opportunity. The exam folders are empty right now. They'll populate long before the exam, at least a week before the exam, with study guides and the formula sheets. Make sure you do look in the exam area, especially if you have not used the Respondus lockdown browser in the past. Make sure you go in there and test your system and understand how that system works, because we use Respondus for our exams. The extra credit information is in there. There are two areas for extra credit. One is Excel. So Excel is arguably the most important desktop application in the world. People and companies and for-profit, not-for-profit use it all around the planet every day. And you don't want to graduate from school without being fluent in Excel. Many of you, I'm sure, already are fluent in it, so this is going to be easy extra credit for you. Those of you who need to become more fluent in it, or have never even heard of it, or whatever stage you might be, look for the free online Excel training. I've tried to put a link in for you. Sometimes it breaks, but I'll try to link you to Microsoft's free online Excel training, and there are other resources out there on the web that are free and very useful. Take this class as an opportunity to give yourself some more credit for free and to learn the lessons that you need for the exams anyway, and to learn Excel at the same time. When you do the Excel extra credit, you must have the formula in the numeric box that makes sense of the data on the sheet, and not just the answer in the box. And unfortunately, I have to open every one of them and check. So make sure you don't just pull out the calculator and fill in the blanks, because you won't get any credit for it. And frankly, if I catch you doing that, I'll block you from submitting further, because you're wasting your time, you're wasting mine, and that's cheating. So do not submit Excel without putting a calculated answer into the box, because that's the whole point of it, is that I'm trying to give you a chance to learn Excel, and I'm paying you, I'm giving you an incentive to learn Excel. Turning in the work without calculated fields is completely outside of the entire intention. Okay, the other area of extra credit, many of you are in career transitions of various sorts. Many of you are working. Some are going to school because you want to grow in your current company and job. Some are going to school because they want to start a new career. Some want to change positions inside the company, etc. So all of those transitions can benefit from networking skills, from planning your job transition carefully, from knowing your strengths and so forth. So I've designed 5 self-development extra credit assignments. They're completely optional. If you undertake any of them, you can do all 5 of them if you want. One requires your local because it's a tour of a plant, but the other 4 are all just self-development activities. So if you undertake any of those, you need to get started on them early because you can't pack them in at the end. They're like, read this book, come up with a strategy, blah, 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 document that, update your resume, things like this. So look that over. If you're interested in extra credit, look over the Excel. Think about starting to, if you already know it, it's going to be a piece of cake. If you don't know Excel and you want to polish your skills, get into those development areas and start spending maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and starting to learn your way through Excel. The first extra credit assignment in Excel will be next week, in week 2. So we're going to jump right into it. And then look at those other self-development areas and think, do I want to work on my resume? Should I pick up a used copy of this book on Amazon, get it going? Plan those out. Don't wait till halfway through the semester when you're buried in everything, but if you're going to do some of those, get them going early. Okay, course materials. We don't have too much to go here. We covered most of it there. So there's a little picture of the text and how to order it. We already talked about that the lab is required. One other thing on the lab, there's a 14-day free access offered by Pearson. I would avoid it. I put it in here because I wanted to tell you to avoid it because you have to buy it after the 14 days. If you do the 14-day for any reason, you're free to, of course. Do not try to renew and scam the system and recreate that every 14 days. It will break your link to Blackboard. You will no longer receive credit for your homework. You will not receive credit for your labs. Anything you do in there will no longer communicate to Blackboard. So don't try to scam the system and think you can, every 2 weeks, get a free access code from Pearson and somehow complete the course and get credit for your work, because it won't work. I'm not going to be responsible for that because I've warned you in writing, and now I've warned you here. So I would avoid the 14-day completely and just get your code and be done with it. Okay, I'll post things to Blackboard from time to time for you. Computers and software, make sure you got a working PC. Of course, you're doing online classes. If you need help with any skills, consult with the university. The libraries have some people to help you if you need some help. If you have any special challenges, make sure I know about that, because of course we practice accommodation at the university, but I need to be knowledgeable of what accommodations anybody has legal access documentation through that office. I need to see the documentation on that. Evaluation and grading. Here's your point distribution. So 15 discussion boards, 10 homeworks. I got to double check that. You might have a few more points there, which would just mean you get a little more extra credit. I might have a few more than the 90 questions, but that's what I think we've got. The simulations, there's 4 of them, 10 points each. They'll come at the appropriate time in the course. For example, there's one on forecasting, so we'll do it the week of forecasting. It'll take you, I don't know, maybe half an hour to an hour to go through the simulation. Something in that neighborhood. The team research paper, we'll start those probably in week 3. First, you'll get a survey invitation from an independent place called CATME, and that is a team builder survey. So the team builder survey basically allows me to do the best I can to build appropriate teams. If somebody says, I'm never available on weekends, I work, or I'm whatever it is, for whatever reason, if you aren't available and so forth to meet, then these kind of things can come out, and I can do the best I can to accommodate that. That is no guarantee, and you got to work that out inside your teams. The team assignments are very purposeful on my behalf, and I want teams to work together to become productive. We all know by now, because we've done it enough times, that teams go through phases of getting to know each other, who's who are the alphas in the room, and so forth. My intention with teams is that they're participatory, that you make good decisions together, that you practice team decision making and team communication, and that the course ends up being one more step of you in learning how to work online with groups. Okay, the peer review process. So the A3 assignment of your team research paper is basically where you will look at the rubric for the A3 assignment, the team research paper, and you will apply it to another team's first draft paper. Those papers have to be complete. They have to be done. I call it a first draft, even though it shouldn't look a whole lot different than the final draft, because you're going to have a round of editing available to you afterwards. I like to see two things come of that. Number one, you really get in tune with the rubric. When you're grading somebody else's paper, you really have a chance to go back and think about what's required in the assignment. You apply that, and you give that team their feedback. You do everything on time. Give them your paper on time. Give them back quality feedback on time per the assignment, and you'll do real well on those 50 points. And then you have about a week to make final revisions to your draft paper and submit it as your final copy. So it's a part of the editing process. The exams, there are 3 of them. As I mentioned, we use Respondent's Lockdown Browser. Information will get populated into those folders in Blackboard as it becomes more relevant. You see the extra credit work here. There is a typo there because it's not 50 points for the 3 self-development assignments. It's 60. They're 20 points each. So you have actually 110 extra credit points possible here. These are the grade ranges. The discussion board, 8 points each. We've already gone through this stuff. We've talked about exams. They will be timed. Make sure you know the material so that you can get through the exam on time. I always have people that say they ran out of time, and those are the people that weren't prepared. They thought, well, I've got a cheat sheet, I got a formula sheet, I'll figure it out in the exam, and there's not time. And that's by design. That is by design. If you don't know the material, you're not going to have time to look it all up and figure it out. If you know the material, you'll get through it fine in way less than the time I allow. Okay, studying for exams, make sure you know the learning module content, do the reading, follow through the lectures, and you'll do just fine. I will post also some practice assignments in the modules, that Excel stuff, and sometimes some things that you don't have to submit for extra credit will also be in there, so you'll see that in the weekly modules as it comes up. Makeup exams. I hope we never have one, but life does happen. So if there is some reason that I need to work with you on it, I do my best. But believe me, I am not inviting a chaos in this class. I hope we have no makeup exams. If it is absolutely necessary, get ahead of me in advance, let me know why, and we'll decide what we need to do about that. Final exams, check the syllabus now. Don't leave town or be somewhere when you got to take your final. It is not comprehensive. It just covers the last group of material in the course. Group assignments, so we've already gone through that. Teamwork grade adjustments. So the CATME system that we use to build the teams, that survey that you're going to receive, you will receive also 2 other surveys. Maybe more than 2, but probably 2. They'll be at the end of the A3 assignment, the group team assignment, at the end of the A4, the peer review assignment, those 2 team-focused activities. And you will have roughly 3 days to complete a short survey on your team and yourself. I will look at those surveys. Teams that have been highly functional, it won't have any effect on your grade. Teams that have been slightly dysfunctional, for whatever reason, it will affect your grade. The bottom line is there's no free riding. So things happen in teams, and work is never 100% equal. I know that. We all know that. That's not real. It's not life. Teams take advantage of different strengths of different members. Maybe somebody's a great editor. They're wonderful in English. Maybe somebody has time to do some research early and doesn't have time to do as much work during the writing. That's up for the individual teams to decide, and you can allocate work any way you want inside a team. However, if for some reason, and it happens unfortunately from time to time, students choose not to engage with their team, or they very weakly engage with their team, and in the end take advantage of their team, don't meet their commitments, etc., there will be a grade adjustment. If you completely don't engage, you will receive 0 for the assignment. If you engage weakly and your team doesn't give you a good review, your grade will be adjusted accordingly. So I really hate reading those things, and when teams come to me, I hope that you'll practice skills of resolving team conflicts and issues internally through open, respectful communication, and reach out to a person and say, if we don't get this resolved, I'm going to have to give you a poor team review. And I don't want to do that. Please engage with the team. Respond to our emails. Tell us when you can meet if you can't meet with the proposed time. And, everybody can't be in every meeting, and everybody can't answer every email the second they receive it. But we all know what it means to properly and respectfully engage with the team. Conflict is good in a team when it is productive conflict, when you're debating ideas and different approaches to the assignment and solving a problem or interpreting data differently. This is all good. And none of us are right all the time, of course. So different ideas are wonderful. Not engaging is a disaster. Please engage. I hope it's all of our goal to have nobody's grade adjusted downward based on peer reviews. So we talked about extra credit, online classroom conduct. We have talked about professionalism, borderline students. If you're having trouble, get with me. I talked about quizzes in here. I got to revise that because there's not quizzes for extra credit. That is obsolete. That's from last semester. I'll issue a revision to that, but make sure you do your homework. Do your homework. It's and if you're worried about your grade, do the extra credit stuff. That extra credit stuff is really for you anyway. It'll help you with your grade. It'll help you with either self-development activity or with learning Excel and learning stuff for the exam. So take advantage of the extra credit. Do the homework. Do the readings, and you'll be just fine. If you need some one-on-one with me, I absolutely will make myself available. We can meet through any online tool that you choose. If you're down near Wayne State, we can try to book some office hours. Sometimes that's difficult, but we can do it. So reach out to me if you're struggling. There are some areas of the course that you'll look at and you'll say, I don't get this. What are we doing here? And it happens to a lot of people. It's not, some of this stuff isn't stuff that you'll just look at it once and you'll understand it. So if you want to go over it one-on-one, let me know. I'll do my best with the lectures so you can review those. And if you do that and you still don't understand what it is, please ping me. If you have personal problems, let me know. I'll do my best to work with you. Religious observance, Wayne State makes no provisions for those because we have such a diverse student body. We'll work those things out best we can, but the school found it impossible to accommodate everything. Last day to withdraw, Sunday, March 26th. So if you're really struggling and it's not going to work, watch that date. Okay, after that, it's I believe it's just incompletes. And you can't get an incomplete if you're failing, I believe. So keep your eye on the moving ball, the registrar's policy on those things, and remember that date if you're struggling and thinking about withdrawal. Academic dishonesty, of course, is not allowed. Surprise, surprise. We do use Safe Assign for anti-plagiarism. Be careful when you're writing and when you're doing research. There's a tendency in the online age when we do research, when we find something we really like and we say, oh, bingo, this is just beautiful for my paper. There's a tendency to copy that and think, I'll have to go back and paraphrase all this later, and we lose it. We lose that, and all of a sudden we're submitting, we say, oh my gosh, that I left that in, I forgot to go back and redo that section, and it's all plagiarized now. So have a system when you write a paper that you never just paste in plagiarized content. Research and looking at what experts have done and what influential people have to say about a topic is part of the research process, but it never gets pasted. It has to be paraphrased, and you give credit to the author even after paraphrasing. So if you need a direct quote, that means that the direct stated the statement from that individual needs to remain intact because it's so powerful and it needs to be quoted. That's rarely the case. Usually direct quotes are not required, and paraphrasing what the author said into your own words and still giving them credit. In other words, according to, in parentheses, Cotter, comma, 1992, parentheses, and then your words paraphrased of what they said. That's how most of your research is entering into your paper. Okay? So be careful of cutting and pasting. It's inappropriate, and it gets you into big trouble if at the end of it you go to submit and you review the safe assign back and you say, oh my gosh, we've got all this plagiarized content in our paper. Unintentionally, I'm sure, but it doesn't change the result. Intentions don't matter in that. And I can't guess your intentions. All I know is, oops, we've got a bunch of plagiarized content, and that's a big problem. So please help yourself by not engaging in cutting and pasting that stuff. So you'll see the schedule here, and it's structured similarly week to week. I will not update this for small little tweaks in a due date or something. Any major revisions like deleting, or a major change in article changes or something, I'll do an update. But most changes going forward, you'll just see through the weekly announcements if something changes. And I'll mention in the announcement, this is different than the syllabus. We're going to read a different article or something. Okay. Hopefully there won't be any changes. We won't have to do that. So, frequently asked questions. Is the course difficult? It is difficult. It's a difficult course in that it throws some mathematics, a little bit of statistics at you in applied sense. So please keep up with it. We go over a lot of different areas in this course, and it's just really important to keep up. I will give you a slide set on metacognitive learning, and I would encourage you, because we're always students and we're always learning. You're an active student at Wayne State right now, but you'll be a student all your life. You'll be learning. I would encourage you to look it over. It was something I ran into a number of years ago that helped me as a student. I'm a doctoral student now, and it's valuable to learn how we learn. Sorry about that. It's important to learn how we learn, and I think you'll get a lot out of those slides on metacognition. I think it'll make sense to you, and to really actively think about the difference of reading a chapter and studying a chapter, reading about a concept and actually studying it and breaking it down into its pieces and finding the relationships between things so that we really enhance learning with our time. I think it'll make your time more productive in this course, in other courses, and in life in general. So I would encourage you to look over those slides on metacognitive learning. This course is both qualitative and quantitative, as I mentioned earlier. The exams are qualitative and quantitative. The exercises, everything we do is a mixture of both. Make sure you treat the text as your guide. The assignments at the end of the chapters, all the homework we do. There's that word quizzes again. All the homework we do, and sometimes people ask. It's always after. They don't ask before. Gee, I'm so close to A minus. Can't you kind of tweak that up? I don't do that, and I feel bad when I don't do it actually, but I don't think I can do that, so I don't do it. It's not fair to everybody else, so you really don't need to ask. I don't engage in it, and sorry you didn't get that 1 more, 2 more, 3 more, 10 more, 20 more points that you wish you had to get that A minus, but anyway, your points are your points at the end. The exams, knowing the homework and practice exercises are very important for the exams, but you do need to be able to apply the information in what I intentionally make some ambiguous situations into some of the exam questions. So you'll need to read a story problem and say, okay, I know the formula for this, but which pieces of data fit into that formula? Which of these is the fixed cost? Which of these is the variable cost? What is the selling price here? Oh, it's this one. So I make you think about it to some extent. So that's why metacognitive learning, and not just knowing the math behind a tool, but actually thinking of what is the tool doing? What problem am I solving here is going to help you in the exams, and it'll help you after the exams when you're out sometime thinking, hey, I know how to do economic order quantities, and being able to apply it. That's basically it. I welcome you to class. I hope that syllabus review wasn't too long for you. I tried to not be repetitive. Welcome to the course, and if you have any questions, definitely ask. Despite my best efforts, it seems Murphy's Law that somebody will find a conflict in this syllabus and have to tell me about it today or tomorrow and say, I'm confused, Professor Thibodeau. You said this in the beginning and something else disagreed with that later on. So, sorry I can't edit that out completely, but I have a meeting to go to here. I better go to it, and I'm wasting your time anyway at this point. So goodbye, and I'll see you online in our classroom.